Those Were the Days is filmed before a live internet audience.
Good news, everyone. I have decided that effective immediately we're going to stop talking about classic television on this show. Wait, what? I'm being told that that's what this show is about, so good news, everyone. Tonight we're talking about classic television. But I can't do this by myself. No, I need a crew of willing test podcasters that are willing to help me. Firstly, he's more than just a mere pizza delivery boy. It's Steven.
Professor, I want to see what would happen if I had learned to fully shake all of my anxiety. Oh, look, I'm doing mostly the same thing. Wait, is that another planet? Are we an intergalactic society? Is that a statue of me? It can't all be good, though. I'm probably like an a-hole, right? No? I'm a benevolent champion for the downtrodden and protector of the defenseless on some other planet? Ah, well, I'm happy enough right here.
He absolutely has degrees in both humanology and humanomy, so that makes him our de facto medical doctor. It's Audie.
Hello, Fox TV pitches. Oh, you've got something from Matt Groening? Oh, he came up with The Simpsons, right? Yeah, sure. Tell me what you're thinking. Another cartoon, that's fine. Set 1,000 years in the future, okay. What else? It's got aliens from lobster planets and one-eyed mutants. Okay, I'm definitely listening. It's really just a workplace comedy set in a crazy future. Oh boy, this sounds great. And the humans will have normal skin tones and not the yellow Simpsons kind? That's it. I'm sold. I'll run it up the chain. But from the sounds of it, with Groening behind it, there's no way this doesn't last as long or not, if not longer than The Simpsons. It'd be stupid not to.
And lastly, who can forget the impulsive and unpredictable Amy?
Okay, so I have an invention. So it's like talk radio, okay? But it's in like a compact form that you can like download little bits of and listen to at your convenience. I think I'm really onto something here.
So if you haven't picked up on it by now, tonight we're continuing sitcoms and we're discussing Futurama. So Futurama was, as Audie mentioned, created by Matt Groening and David X. Cohen. So in the mid-90s, Fox wanted another series from Groening. The Simpsons was super popular, so he started working on stuff with Cohen. It took them a long time to kind of get something going, but March 28th, 1999 was the first episode of Futurama. And then Fox started to do, well, what Fox does, and move it. So they aired the first 2 episodes in the coveted 8:30 Sunday night time slot, right in between The Simpsons and The X-Files. It's perfect. The Simpsons into Futurama into The X-Files. The show was a massive hit for 2 weeks, and then they moved it to Tuesday. It still had good ratings, but they moved it around. The next season, they put it on Sunday nights again for a couple of weeks and then moved it to Thursday. And they just kind of continued to do this until 2003, when they didn't technically cancel it, but they also didn't buy any more episodes. So effectively canceling it after 4 seasons. It got picked up in syndication, though. Got really, really popular on Adult Swim.
Mm-hmm.
And then Comedy Central got in on the action a few years later. And by 2008, they did 4 direct-to-video movies that then got split up into 16 episodes and became season 5. So Comedy Central then ran with it for new episodes from March of 2008 until 2013.
Wow.
They aired new seasons 5, 6, and 7. 6 and 7 were split 26 episode seasons. And then Comedy Central just sort of stopped with it again. Then Hulu picked it back up. In July of 2023, it finally got back to air, and they have done 2 10-episode seasons since then. So this show is the show that will not go away. It will not die.
It doesn't die. It just goes into cryogenic stasis for a while.
Right. and it's kind of it's weird to think that this show has gone through all of that. That is atypical of any TV show. We're seeing a little bit more of stuff like that happening today in the last, I
Yeah.
would say, probably 5 to 6 years, um, with networks picking up old shows and reviving them. But like that was not a thing that ever happened before,
No.
and it's just so odd that Groening has that, but then his other show, his other main show, The Simpsons, is still on the air and just will not go away. 48 seasons later, however many they've done now, 9,000 episodes. Um, it's funny to have like both sides of that coin from one guy. And at times, I will say this: I think there are plenty of times where Futurama was better than The Simpsons. I will plant that flag um, myself. So, what I want to know is, what kind of history did any of you have with Futurama? We're going to start with Audie.
Um, I have never watched an episode before now, so I was kind of turned off by The Simpsons for various reasons and just didn't get into it. So I never really gave this a chance.
Wow.
I very nearly spit Coke all over my monitor right now. I just want that to be known.
Man, I wish we
Um,
picked a better episode. Like it's a fine episode, but not. But man, but we. All right.
all right,
There's a
all right,
lot of good
Amy.
episodes of this show.
That's
Amy,
exactly.
what's your history?
Um. So I'm pretty sure that I watched it when it came out, though I wouldn't swear to it. But I mean, so when you're neurospicy, right, and you have that show that you just sort of loop for a couple months,
Mhm.
I have definitely done that with this show up to a point. After there's a point at which it really kind of the new stuff is not good. I I'm not saying it's irredeemable, but I haven't gotten very far because it was not very good. But I have seen at least most of it dozens of times um as my comfort show, and I didn't particularly care for The Simpsons, but I do love Futurama.
All right, Steven,
Oh
what about
boy.
you?
Oh man. Fun story about this show. That Sunday night at 8:30 that you talked about when it first aired, I thought
Yep.
to myself, that's the funniest show I've ever seen in my life, and I'm going to be here every Sunday night to watch it. And then didn't. I wasn't back the next Sunday night. Now I actually feel like it makes a little more sense after you said they moved it, because then I would have never found it again. Like I just
Right.
don't watch. I didn't watch Fox a lot. It wasn't a channel
Yeah.
I went to. I was on
Mhm.
Cartoon Network and I was on Nickelodeon and stuff at the time, like MTV. I guess I was 14, so right there in the pocket of
Fair.
of that kind of stuff. I didn't watch Fox, so I missed it. But I love The Simpsons, not having watched it, but I loved everything else around it. I played every Simpsons video game there ever was, and I had a couple Simpsons computer games, having never watched the show. And I was like, I need more of this Futurama in my life, and I didn't watch it. Then it went, eventually it went to Cartoon Network like full time, and I had friends that watched it, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna get in on that. Didn't, and now it's like at my fingertips. It's at my fingertips, and I'm still like, I know all the references because I had a bunch of friends who watched it, but I've still only ever watched a handful of episodes all the way through. Like I know Snoo Snoo, and I know Fry's
Mhm.
dog, and I know like all these the caffeine episode. Like I know all these moments that
Mhm.
are just they're great. But this is the first episode since that first one. I probably sat down and watched the whole thing. I don't know what's wrong with me because it's great.
Yeah, this was a show. I remember it airing. I remember watching it on Fox, and then later on, definitely watching it Adult Swim and cartoon, Comedy Central, and all of that. And it was a show that I connected with right away and really really enjoyed. And I've watched most all of the episodes many times over, with the exception of Jurassic Park, which is the episode that if that
Oh,
episode
I don't.
starts, I
Oh,
skip it
I
because I
don't.
will just be a bawling mess.
Hmm.
See, I just don't like it very much. It was fine. I just
it's just such a sad ending. It's so
Yeah, you
sad,
don't.
Very sad.
and so I can't do it.
I
But
did hold my breath when you said we were doing this show, and I was like, "Please, dear." Oh God.
Yeah,
gee,
don't do
no,
that
no, I wouldn't do that.
It's like that one. That one is one of those shows or movies where you watch it and somebody says, "Did you like it?" And it said, "Well, it was well done, and it served. It did what it set out to do." But when I say it was good, that's difficult.
What it for me is
Did I
it's the
enjoy
type
it?
of thing. Yeah,
Right.
it's very good. I do not want to watch it again. I
Exactly.
do
As
not want
the
to cry as this dog. Oh, it's just even thinking about it now, like
It's
it's
brutal.
rough.
I
But the
would
show
watch it if I
itself,
really needed a show to squeeze the tears out of my brain and I was just
well,
struggling.
yeah,
Be like, you know
that
what?
would,
Yeah.
I need a good cry. It's time for some
Yeah,
Futurama.
sometimes you just need.
yeah, and that one would do it. So the show centers around Philip J. Fry, who is voiced by Billy West. He's a loser pizza delivery boy. In 1999, it's New Year's Eve. He gets a prank phone call or prank delivery to a cryogenic facility. He goes there, and while he's celebrating the countdown to the flip to the year 2000, he falls into a cryotube and is frozen for 1,000 years and wakes up in the year 3000. Um, and First of all, Billy West is amazing, and he does the voice of Fry and also Professor Hubert Farnsworth. Fry's great, great, many great grandson
Many
or
greats.
grandnephews, I
Yeah.
think,
I think
something
so.
like that.
Yeah, it has to be. Yeah,
As
because
well
he's
as
his uncle. Yeah.
yeah, as well as several other episodes or other characters. The voice actors did a lot of extra work with everybody, with the exception of Katie Seagal, who only voiced Leela. That's it.
Hmm. Oh
She
wow.
voiced one character, yeah. So Billy West is Philip J. Fry. He's Hubert Farnsworth. He's also Dr. Zoidberg. Is him, as well as Zap Brannigan, who was originally a character written for Phil Hartman. So
Oh, that makes
Billy
sense.
West, yeah.
Billy
So
West does
Billy
his
West did
best
his
Phil Hartman.
Phil Hartman. Yeah.
Hmm.
I do love that Billy West has said so. He actually auditioned for Zoidberg and Farnsworth and got those roles, but didn't get Fry. Somebody else was cast for that, but then couldn't do it. So he came back in, re auditioned, got the role, and then said he based his Phil Fry voice pretty much on his own voice, so
Mhm.
that it would be really difficult for anybody to take over the role from him.
Oh, that's great. Yeah,
Which is great.
I've seen Billy West and John DiMaggio and Phil Lamar in a panel at Dragon Con once. Again, having only ever seen one episode of Futurama, I went to a Futurama panel and
Incredible.
watched Billy West and John DiMaggio do this whole thing. And watching Billy West do Zoidberg is
Oh,
wild
it's
because you
amazing.
can't figure out how he makes that. He's convincing that he has a flappy upper lip
Yeah.
somehow, and I
Yeah.
still watched him, and I have no idea how he does it. It's so
So
insane to me.
he came to our local Comic Con a few years ago, so I got to meet him there at his
Cool.
table and all of that. And he did that voice from like the length of my arm away, and I still am not sure how he
Yeah,
did
it's
that.
just like what?
Um,
Just yeah. He referred to it as
so he
marble mouth is what he was going
yeah,
for, is marble
Yeah.
mouth. And
yep.
it's like, yeah, I hear that. Okay.
So Katie Seagal was Taranga Leela. And then you had John DiMaggio, as you mentioned, Bender Bending Rodriguez, which is a great full name. I love that. Bender is such a fantastic character and eminently memeable. And we almost in the Hulu revival, I think it was, we almost didn't get John
Yeah.
DiMaggio back as Bender.
Yep.
There was a whole deal with that. And he ended up coming back. They were apparently, if he hadn't come back, they were going to do a different guest voice for Bender every episode.
Terrible
All
idea.
right. Yeah,
No.
it's not
I mean,
good.
Pay the man.
No,
Get him back on.
but
Get him in.
yeah. You also had Phil Lamar, as you mentioned. Phil Lamar and Maurice LaMarche are basically the rest of the show.
Yeah.
Like every minor character is one of those two, pretty much. Phil Lamar is Hermes Conrad, as well as just everybody else. And then Maurice LaMarche is, I love Maurice LaMarche so much, and all of his characters, Hedonism Bot, Calculon, Lure, they're so good. So you had them. You also had Tress McNeil on here as the voice of Mom and many other characters, and Lauren Tom as the voice of Amy Wong.
Yep.
Who we didn't get a whole lot of Amy in this episode.
No.
This was
No.
so. Amy mentioned this wasn't the best episode to like
Like
introduce
if I'd
audience
known,
to it.
if I'd known how this was, I would have been like, well, but hang on, hear me
There-
out.
so-
What if we don't do this one?
This is a fun episode because, and I chose it because it was sort of the not really clip show, but like small vignettes.
Yeah.
There are much better episodes, much more interesting episodes, because the writers' room for this show was insane. To give you an idea of what the writing process was like on this, they had, what was it? The writing staff initially they had 3 PhDs on the staff. There were 7 master's degrees, and cumulatively, they had more than 50 years of attendance at Harvard University.
Oh my.
The one writer, Patrick Verone, stated, "We were easily the most overeducated cartoon writers in history." And because of that, they had so much of the science and math humor in the series was accurate.
Wow.
And they did the math behind a lot of it, and it was kind of crazy, some of the stuff that they went through. And if it wasn't, they at least faked it really, really well and like made it funny. But there's a ton, like there you can find video essays of people breaking down Futurama jokes and how they are mathematically accurate. And
Dang.
it's insane.
I feel like that's such a brilliant move because so many comics and writers are so intelligent and so well educated. And because of that, it gives them this massive swath of things to pull from their own brains. You know, like Conan O'Brien was a Harvard dude. You know, he wrote for The
Yep.
Simpsons, and like there's all these geniuses that are like, we write comedy for cartoons. It's like, well, you got a whole lot of stuff to work with if you know more stuff. I think that you'd find. I think most comics, a lot of them anyway, do end up being like, oh, I was super smart and I just thought things were funny, and this is what I do. Really
Yep.
neat.
Another hallmark of the show, aside from like great mathematics and science jokes and all that, 2 things I want to touch on before we get into this particular episode itself. One was guest voices that would typically be kind of playing themselves. But there were a lot, like Coolio was the Kwanzaa bot in any episodes that Kwanzaa bot was in, and he's awesome. I love that character. John Goodman was originally the Santa bot, and he was supposed to come back, but he couldn't. He had scheduling problems, so it ended up going to John DiMaggio to play Santa bot after that.
Sure.
But you had so many times where celebrities would play themselves as heads in a jar because
Yeah.
1,000 years in the future, that's what they had left. And which does come into play in this episode, as well as a few great celebrity cameos in this one. So this episode, they would do these on occasion, and this is one of the reasons why I love animated stuff, is to have these little vignettes. I guess other sitcoms do this too, but this show in particular feels like they did this really well at times. So we open up with Professor Farnsworth showing off his new invention he created, the Finglonger, which helps him to turn on and off things from a great distance. And it's just a glove with one long finger. That's all it is.
So
Like a
good.
broom
I
handle.
Yep.
I snort laughed at that. I thought maybe that's my next Dragon Con costume. Professor
The best part
Farnsworth
about
with
it
the
is when he goes
Finglonger.
when he goes to use it and he has to get out the pool bridge.
Yes, that
to
killed me.
steady it.
Mhm.
So good.
And he uses it to turn on another one of his adventures, the What If machine, which you can ask it a question and it will show you what would happen if that thing were real. And they decide, the crew decides they want to check that out. So Bender starts it off by asking, what would it be like if I were 500 feet tall?
Okay, but wait. Because he sets it up.
The
That
setup
he's
is
that he's a robot and so therefore is not accepted, and it's this whole thing. And so you think that he's going to ask, what if I were human? Which is in a different stories of interest or whatever it is.
Hmm.
later.
Yeah.
They do that one. And so like we're setting this payoff up like so far in advance. It's really ridiculous.
It's such a heartfelt
Yep.
thing. Like, I'm never really accepted anywhere I go. What would it be like if I
Yeah.
was 500 feet
500
tall?
feet tall.
And so we just get a very simple story. Bender flies to he's 500 feet tall. He flies to Earth where he meets Fry, who has been thawed out and is lonely because he has no best friend. Because in the show, Fry and Bender best friends.
Hmm.
That
Yeah.
is the one
Mm.
of the core relationships in the show is Fry and Bender. They are the best of friends. So here's Fry. He's all, I don't have a best friend. I love he tries to offer a duck bread. Like that's never going to go well. You should know that. If it was a goose, he would have been dead. Um, so they meet when Bender crashes on him, and then they just instantly become friends. And we get I love the montage of them playing in Central Park to
Yeah.
Bop.
Yeah.
And then that transitions into Hanson, Heads in a Jar Hanson playing Bop on
Yeah.
stage. When Bender falls on the stage, that's my favorite part because after that, like they get up and they're all ha ha ha, whatever, and then we get the newspaper spinning into screen. It's thousands die, none injured.
Right.
No injuries.
Um, and so the people get afraid of Bender and they decide to attack him, and he gets upset. He gets pissed. He does go to pull the smokestack off of the chicken flavored cigarette factory.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's just it's
Uh,
so random.
So wonderful.
That'll fix the shakes.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the humans attack him, so he goes on a rampage and starts wrecking the city. And then we get the rest of the crew all standing in Planet Express office going, oh, there goes the neighborhood. Oh, there goes another neighborhood. And so they got to combat him. So Professor Farnsworth's idea, how do you combat a giant robot? With a giant monster. But we need a guinea. And he's like, this is the perfect opportunity to use my embiggening machine or whatever he called it. I don't remember what it was called now.
It was a
But it was
ray.
something
It
silly.
was for sure a ray. I know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we need a guinea pig. Cut to a guinea pig on a platform. And there's a guinea pig on the platform, and Zoidberg walks by and sees it, and turns out that was just bait to get Zoidberg. I love 2 meals in 1 week.
This is the first time I really laughed. Like, it got me. It's because Zoidberg gets pushed into the embiggening machine and goes, that guinea pig tricked me.
Trick me.
Zoidberg is so good
Such an idiot.
throughout the show.
It's so
The
perfect.
episode where they go where it's mating season for Zoidberg and they go to his
Oh.
home planet is like some of the best television ever. It's
Mhm.
so good. It's
Audie, if
so
you only
funny.
watch one other episode, watch that episode because it
It's
is
so good.
incredibly funny.
Oh.
So they make Zoidberg huge, and now he is running around smashing stuff, taking out his frustrations on everything. Chase Manhattan Bank because they wouldn't give him a
I love
Visa
that.
card or
Credit
whatever.
card. Yeah.
The Apollo
Apollo.
because they boot him off the stage. And Bender's like, hey, I called this city. Stop touching my stuff. And so they have their big knockdown fight, which
So much
there's so many
collateral
great
damage.
so much collateral damage and so many great little jokes in the backgrounds of stuff too. Like when he picks up Shea Stadium, and it's Shea Stadium is still there, but it says home of the 1968 and 1986 World Series champions. And here we are 1,000 years later, and that's never won
Just-
anything.
Just the two.
When he takes
Yep.
the train and he does like nunchucks and people go flying
People fly
everywhere.
out.
When they and then he knocks Zoidberg into the Shea Stadium that he filled with water and boiled to make anyone want lobster bisque, which is Zoidberg comes up because it's food. So of course Zoidberg's going to come over asking what, huh? But eventually Zoidberg like gets the drop on him, uses his claws to snip his feet off, and he falls and gets impaled by a giant building. And as he's laying there dying, and all the people suddenly look at him, and we're getting that kind of Iron Giant
It's
moment
Iron
of
Giant.
like,
Yeah.
oh no.
Yeah.
And Fry gets up on him, is like, are you people happy? This poor creature just wanted to be loved, blah, blah, blah. And Bender says, I'll tell you why I was here with my dying breath. To kill all the humans. So, it's fantastic. So
Oh god.
that was our first story, Tales of Interest, with Maurice LaMarche as the announcer voice. It's because he's perfect for that. So we come back, and now we're on story number 2. And I love the interstitial because they're Leela. They're trying to, what is it? Professor tries to goad Leela into asking, what if she were more impulsive?
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Mhm.
and she's like, "What? I'm fine." And Fry doing the dumb stuff, like Fry being dumb
Gosh.
is one of my favorite things. Just putting cereal on his head and like slicing
And milk.
bananas on it and all
Yeah.
that.
And then eating
Avengers,
it.
go man, go, go, go.
Go.
That's why those two work so well, because Fry is an absolute moron and Bender will just go with it because he doesn't care at all.
Sure.
This show had one of my favorite jokes of all time between Fry and Leela and the professor, which is where Fry and Leela are saying the same thing over and over. And I can't remember what they're saying, but the professor looks at them and goes, "Oh, great. She's stuck in an infinite loop and he's an idiot."
Idiot. Yeah.
So story 2, Leela asks, "All right, well, what would happen if I was just a little bit more impulsive? Just a little though, not too much." And so again, I love the start of this where she comes in like, "Check it out. I bought new boots. They're exactly like my old boots, but they have a green stripe on them." And
Mhm.
like that could have if they had ended it at that and just gone on to the next story, that would have been a funny
That would have
joke.
been pretty funny.
Yeah, that'd
Yeah.
been fine
Like
all by
that would have been
itself.
real good. Instead, no, we go further than that, which is the professor says, "Leela, I need to talk to you," and takes her into the other room and proceeds to tell her while feeding his vicious man-eating anteaters
As you do.
in a pit
Mm-hmm.
that he's getting old and he needs an heir. And the rest of the crew, they're too impulsive. They're not level-headed and boring as old good old dull as dishwater Leela.
Yeah.
So he's going to leave her his massive fortune. She'll be a very wealthy woman on the day that he dies. But that won't be today because she's boring and that's fine. And then she gets slightly more impulsive and ninja kicks him into the pit where
Yeah.
the anteaters proceed to pick his bones clean. And I loved, "Oh no, oh, you've killed me. I'm dying. Oh no, what have I done? You killed me. I just said that." So she, in trying to get away with it, acts nonchalant. Uh,
Yeah.
All right, we get it. You're nonchalant.
Yeah, that was so good.
and Hermes busts in to say that he found the professor killed and they need to figure out who it is. So they start looking through files and records and stuff, and Hermes finds the new will, which names Leela as the sole beneficiary. She's like, "But that doesn't prove anything." He goes, "But it's a video will, and it shows you kicking him into the pit." So now she's got to take him out, which is another great episode because our moment because Zoidberg has decided that he is going
Yep.
to solve the
There's
mystery.
no need to call
Yeah.
the police. They're nosy.
I loved Hermes' joke though. "I'm going to call the police right after I flush some things."
Mhm.
Yeah, that was
Right.
great.
So she kills Hermes and then proceeds. They basically she goes through and kills everyone. And this
Mhm.
was, by the way, this was the first episode that Scruffy speaks.
Yeah.
Oh man,
So
he was
there's
so
So
the
good.
best part is she's like, I can't keep doing this. I need to calm down. Next time I feel like murdering, I'll have a piece of gum. And so Amy comes in and like makes some snide comment about her, and she's like, "Do you have any gum?" No. That's all
and
she
just
has.
narrowed
It's
eyes,
so
and that's it.
good. Yeah, Scruffy the
Um,
janitor.
I
yeah.
love
So
that
Scruffy had
Scruffy
been a
is
background.
he's Carl from Sling Blade.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That made me really
and
happy.
he had been a background character for several episodes with no speaking lines, kind of just hanging out in Planet Express. But this was the first time he spoke, so that exchange with him and Leela is great. "I'm Scruffy, the janitor. I don't remember seeing you before. I don't remember seeing you before." And that's it. And then he would just pop up occasionally here and there. At one point, I think he was the deciding vote in like a board of directors vote of some
Mhm.
kind.
Mhm.
Um, so he was great. So Leela is, every time somebody starts to suspect that she's been killing people, the lights go out and then they
Yeah.
get impaled on a sword
So good.
until Fry gets bored. A note arrives from Bender to tell who killed him. But before Zoidberg can read it, Fry gets bored and says, I'm going to go watch TV. To which Leela says, can you turn out the lights on your way out?
What's amazing,
And then
there's
we
another
cut
sight
to-
gag. There's another sight gag in that when they're getting impaled on the sword. So she impales one person on the sword,
Mhm.
the next person on
Yep.
the sword, and then the little thing gets impaled and is now in the middle of the other two
Yeah.
on the
Yeah.
sword.
Yes.
And I
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
like, wait, did she just move one to put the other? It was
Mhm.
awesome.
So good.
Oh, and take a drink for Frank Welker because he's in this episode. He does the voice of Nibbler, the little
Of
guy.
course.
So if you're keeping track at home, we've had a Frank Welker sighting.
Mhm. Mhm.
We all did drink. I don't know what we
We
all
did.
drank, but we drank something.
We did all drink.
Yeah.
So after Fry leaves and Leela asks him to turn the lights off, we cut to Leela eating lobster. And Fry comes in and he basically he figures out that it was Leela that was doing all the killing. So she has to do one more impulsive thing. And then it cuts to they slept together.
Yeah.
Also, Fry, when she was eating the lobster, she was eating it like a normal person eats lobster. Fry
Yeah.
picks up the claw and just bites it off,
Just
bites
bites
into
it.
it.
And so and Fry likes the new impulsive Leela a
Mhm.
lot.
Apparently, yeah.
So that's our second story. And now we get our third story. And I loved, again, a great interstitial between them. Fry asks, what would happen if Bender were a 500-foot tall robot?
Yes.
We've already done that one. I know, but I liked it. It's like, no, ask something else, less stupid.
Less
So
stupid.
he asks,
That made me laugh so hard. Just that delivery
and
was just so
and
happy.
he asks what would happen if he hadn't come to the future. But I love the way he does it because then Farnsworth says, well, what you asked is less stupid, but you asked it in a very stupid way. And so now we get our third story, which is what would have happened if Fry hadn't been frozen for 1,000 years. And
Okay. There is a line in this episode that I use all of the time, like way more than it deserves any credit to. But it is in my personal lexicon. And I forgot it was in this episode until we got to it, and I was like, oh no.
so just when we get to that point, let me know.
Yeah, I'll know. I'll let you know.
All right. So we go to that fateful night. Fry is there with his pizza for icy wiener.
I am a child.
And
'cause that
realize
just made me laugh a lot.
It was so good.
oh yeah, it's great. So we go through all the motions and he does a little party favor. It knocks his chair back, but instead of falling into the cryo tube, he just wangs his head on the side of it, which causes a rip in the space-time continuum.
Yeah.
And standing inside of it are Zoidberg, the professor, Bender, and Leela, who are looking at Fry like, what is this guy? What's going on here? And Fry's, of course, scared of them because it's
Sure.
a Cyclops, a lobster monster, a robot, and a leathery old man. Professor Farnsworth is something like 160
Yeah.
in the show. So the next day he's back at his job at Panucci's Pizza, which is still my all-time favorite name for a pizza joint.
Yep.
And Stephen Hawking comes in.
With the millennial pizza, 2,000 meats.
Yes,
Is the
that's right.
millennial pie.
So Stephen Hawking comes in to the pizzeria, and of course he's. Do you want your usual? No, I want something good. Ha! I like you, Hawking. I'll make you your usual.
Which it's worth pointing out, it's Stephen Hawking.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like it's
Mhm.
Our
not
first-
just a computer voice. Like it is legitimately Stephen Hawking.
Nice.
So Fry talks to him and mentions, "Hey, have you ever seen a hole in nothing that had had monsters inside of it?" And Hawking's like, "You know what? I have to leave," and leaves and doesn't even take his pizza.
Yeah.
So later that night, when Fry goes to leave work, he gets jumped and kidnapped, and he wakes up, and he has been taken by the Action Rangers.
Such a good name.
The Action Rangers consist of Stephen Hawking, the
Mhm.
aforementioned, Al Gore,
Yeah.
Actually,
Nichelle- Al Gore.
Oh wow.
He did guest voice on a few episodes as
Yeah.
himself.
Yeah.
So we got Hawking, Al Gore, Nichelle Nichols, actually
Mhm.
her, in her dressed as Uhura, which was great. Gary Gygax,
Okay.
which is
The Gary
also
Gygax?
actually him.
Holy
So
The
crap.
Gary
Gary
Gygax.
Gygax. So Gary Gygax walks up, right? Because he's like they're introducing the Action Rangers.
Yeah.
It's like and Gary Gygax walks up and rolls and says, "Hello, I'm very," and rolls 2 dice. Happy to meet you. I do this all of the time. It is the dumbest thing, but it's like, let me see how I feel about a situation. Yeah,
It's
all right.
great because they use that gag the whole
Yeah.
time too with him. It's such a
Yeah.
good gag.
So good.
He's rolling
And
a
then
D20
they're
and a D6 at the same time for those who wanted the nerdy details. It's a
Yeah.
D20
Yes.
and a D6.
There's a D4 at one point, I think.
I don't recall the
think.
D4.
He was a real
Maybe
pointy
you're right.
boy, I thought, but I could be wrong.
The pointy boy.
could be
That's what I'm
making that
calling
up.
my D4s from now on. Got
Yeah.
these rolled me three pointy boys.
I saw the D4 referred to as the penny of dice sets today.
Wow.
And I was
Ooh,
like,
that's
oh,
harsh. I mean, I actually use D4s.
Yeah.
A
quite a
magic
bit,
missile's like
so-
what, 3D4s or something? Or fire,
Yeah.
one or the other? I can't remember.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's useful.
The and then the final the intern for the Action Rangers is Deep Blue, the computer,
Yes.
Yes.
and
That
they're
was a blast
tasked
from the
with
past. That was
Yeah,
a retro
wasn't it?
callback
Good
if there
lord.
ever was one.
Mm-hmm.
Especially
And,
compared to today and the age of AI and all this crap.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, it unlocked a portion of my brain that had been shut off for a long time. I was like, Deep Blue, and then I saw like my entire past flash before me. I was like, I remember so much.
And the Action Rangers have the sole task of defending the space-time continuum. And I loved Fry for as dumb as he is, and he is very dumb. Does call out Al Gore. I thought your sole job was casting the deciding vote in the Senate. Well,
That-
yes, and also defending the space-time continuum. Read the Constitution, because this is 1999.
Mhm.
Al Gore would still have been the vice president.
Yes, indeed.
So they need to fix the space-time continuum because Fry, something was supposed to have happened that night to Fry,
Yep.
and because it didn't, the universe is going to unravel itself. So they take him to the cryogenics place,
Yep.
and he explains exactly what happened. And they say, "Oh well, there's only one obvious conclusion here. Then that wang to the head should have killed you." And so they attack him. I did like Al Gore being like, no, we need to have a peaceful way to do this. And like Nichelle Nichols just pushes him out of the way and they tackle Fry to the ground. And Stephen Hawking starts
Hawking's just
driving
rolling
over him.
over him.
Stephen Hawking driving over him, all that would got me real good.
really
It was
good.
the forward backward thing. It was just
Uh-huh.
really good.
Yep. So it's not working. The hole in the space-time continuum starts to open. Bender shows up.
Nichelle
is-
Nichols is like, what murder isn't working, and this is all we have.
It's so good. So we've tried nothing, and nothing's worked, and we haven't tried anything yet. So that's when they figure out that okay, maybe Fry has to be frozen and sent to the future. So he's like, but I need a weapon to fight off drunken robots. So Gary Gygax gives him his +1 mace,
Mhm.
and he proceeds to do the most Fry thing possible, which is smash up the cryogenics
Yeah.
tube. And he's like, "You fool! Do you know what's going to happen?" And then the universe just gets destroyed,
Mhm.
and we end up with the Action Rangers and Fry floating in the void. And Gary Gygax asks if anyone wants to play D&D for the next 400,000 years or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's how
They all
we end
go,
the.
yeah, all right.
Yeah, sure. And that's how we end that story of them just floating in the void. Which comes back to our wraparound, where the professor dumps the what if machine into the garbage because it's just dumb. This thing it's not worth the gold it's been made out of. The Finglonger, that's a great invention, and everyone cheers and claps for the Finglonger. And then probably my favorite thing
So
is then
good.
they pull out
It was
out
good.
from that, and it's Professor Farnsworth watching the what if machine because he had asked it what would happen if he invented the
invented
Finglonger.
Yeah.
What a brilliant
And
name for a
credits.
thing, too. The
Yeah.
Fanglonger.
So that is season 2, episode 20, Tales of Interest, which, as Amy pointed out, is not the best episode, but it's a very good episode. You get a little bit of everybody.
Yeah,
Like I say, there wasn't a ton of Amy Wong in this. There wasn't a lot of, and she's a great character. There wasn't a lot of Hermes in here.
Mhm.
And because it was just short stories, we didn't get any of our side characters. There was no Zap Brannigan, no Kiff, Lur, all these great side characters, Mom. But I thought this was a pretty fun episode, and I thought this was a really great show overall. What I want to know is just, after watching this now, Audie, would you watch more Futurama?
Oh, heck yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. This
Do
was
you
good.
think
This
it
was
would
very
have been
good.
something that if you had started watching it, back 20 years ago, that you would have been into? Or do you think you kind of needed to not watch it at the time and maybe appreciate it more now?
I probably would have watched it back in the day. I can't tell you why I didn't then, but yeah, I would have gotten sucked into it.
Well, I can see if you were not into The Simpsons and you see this show, which has a very similar art style,
Sure.
yeah.
I can see like being, no, that's not going to be for me. I don't like The
Yeah.
Simpsons either. I mean,
Well, it wasn't that didn't like The Simpsons. I got turned off from The Simpsons. Like, I think I told this story on The Simpsons episode. We had a group of people growing up that everything related to The Simpsons.
yeah,
Mhm.
Everything. So it was
Mhm.
Yeah.
like, can we not talk about The Simpsons for like 5 minutes? So,
I feel like everybody has that thing that they have not, that they would probably be into, but have not watched because some part of the fandom has just got you like, I can't,
yeah.
I cannot.
yeah. Oh,
I
yeah.
And for
can't
me, it
follow
was
you.
directly the fandom.
Yeah.
Steven, now that you've watched a second episode all the way through of Futurama, would you watch more of them?
Yeah, like let's start from the beginning and just go. I'm in.
Mhm.
I'll definitely do it. Probably maybe 30% chance.
I mean,
It's real
you
good
really
background
should,
stuff though, because you don't have to. It does
Yeah,
not
I don't have to pay
require.
attention.
Right.
Does not
no,
require.
Yeah, it'll be
no.
fine.
And the thing is, it's the type of show that the more you watch it, the more jokes you will pick up on.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the type of thing that can just be like, for a long time it was background noise for me, just always. So a lot of times episodes I'd just, oh yeah, I remember that moment, and then move
Yeah.
on. Or I'd stop to watch a specific episode. Like, I can remember my roommate going through watching every single episode, and I would just be doing stuff, and I'd wander by and be like, oh yeah, I remember this one. I'd sit down, I'd watch it, and be like, cool, all right, I'm heading out. We actually had the moment where we got to Jurassic Park, and he's like, nope, and just hit skip. And I said, thank you. And his my girlfriend walked into the room at that very moment. She's like, why did you skip that episode? We're like,
Don't
it
worry
was
about
Jurassic
it.
Park. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Everyone knows.
Yeah, it's like the heaviest matter in the universe is that episode. It really is.
Yeah.
But Amy, how about you? Are you going to watch some more? It's
Oh,
on Hulu.
I already watched some more. Like I watched the episode and then I just kept watching episodes. I got like
Some of
well into
and
season 3.
and some of the celebrity cameos in this are amazing too.
Oh,
Like,
because the very next episode is the honking, which is top tier Bender content. So excited! Like it came out, I was like, well, obviously I'm leaving this on.
um, yeah, absolutely. But like, they would get celebrities that you wouldn't even think of. I mean, obviously, this episode had that. Like Gary Gygax in
Yeah, what the
2000,
devil?
2000, I think.
Yeah.
D&D
Yeah.
was not cool then. Like it was the opposite of cool. It didn't get cool till
Right.
like 2008.
Yeah.
And even then it had work
Pretty
to
much. I remember there's an episode where Bender there's some sort of an accident, and so he can't move his from the neck down, and they attach little arms.
He has an issue with a can opener.
Right. And so they attach little arms to his neck, and so he's got these tiny little arms, but then he can play a washboard with them.
do.
And he goes on tour with Beck.
Beck.
Lord.
It's really funny.
That's
The musical
so
guests are
great.
so good.
Oh, so many
They're
good
so good.
ones.
The Run DMC,
Hmm.
Oh my
incredible.
gosh.
The Beastie Boys
Incredible.
were
Yes.
guests. They
Yes.
actually did a remix of the opening theme. The Beastie Boys did
Mhm.
for an episode that they were in. Um, Also, any episode that had the Harlem Globetrotters
Yeah.
is instantly a classic
Yeah.
because
Nice.
they show up and they're like mathematical geniuses.
Any
And it
TV
really harkens
show.
back to the old Scooby Doo episodes. Like
Yes,
Oh,
so
wow.
Oh,
much.
that's awesome.
You have a
it's so
TV
good.
show, you put the Harlem Globetrotters in it, it's a classic all by itself. I
Mhm.
don't care what the show
Yeah.
is.
They don't miss.
No, no, they don't.
No.
They're
That's a
great.
basketball joke,
Gilligan's
kids.
Island,
Mhm.
anyone?
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
Oh
they're
yeah.
great on everything.
But yeah, that's Futurama. That is one of my favorite all-time sitcoms. So when we started talking sitcoms, and I'm like, oh, what could I do if I could do this? I thought about doing something like, I mentioned Step by Step. There was a bunch of stuff that went through my head, and then I was like, wait a minute, Futurama. That falls.
Hmm.
I can do it. And I somehow hadn't done it yet, so here we are. We did an
Thank
entire
you.
month of animation, and we didn't cover Futurama,
That's true.
which is still
Yeah.
crazy to me.
There's a
We've
whole
done a
lot of
couple
TV
months
out
of
there.
Animation. Yeah.
So yeah, that is Futurama. It's a ton of fun. It's all streaming on Hulu right now. All like 100 and something episodes. There's 9 seasons of it. I would say definitely your first 5-6 seasons are solid gold.
Yeah. I think of the
There's some
TV
good stuff.
movies, the there is a Dungeons and Dragons one.
Oh
It's
yeah, there is.
and it's really quite good. And then like the stuff after that is good right up until you get to the new stuff.
Well, they also like there's 4 different episodes that were made as the final episode of the series because they didn't know if they were going to come back, but they always wanted to. Like they never wanted to give up on it. I know Katie Seagal even said at
There's a
one
lot of
point,
good jokes about it. Like there
"Oh
wind
yeah,
up being a lot of good jokes.
Yeah, I talked to a buddy at work about it today, and he was like, "I love that show, except that they kept doing it." Like he was like, one of the endings was the perfect ending. He was like, they should have stopped there, and then they
Oh,
kept going.
wow.
It's like,
The
okay.
Fry and Layla ending is the perfect ending.
yeah," and it's tough, right? Because like everybody involved really likes making it, which I
Yeah.
think is a huge part of it. Like if it was just a job, it's easier to walk away from, but they love it so much and these characters, they got to build so much out of these characters that I can understand it, but at some point it does need to just be
Just go.
done.
It's
Just wrap it up and go, you know. But yeah, so we are going to kick off a new round of episodes. We took a poll we ran, and we have poll results. So anyone want to wager a guess? Our poll options were soap operas,
Mhm.
spooky shows, movies that became TV shows, and Halloween episodes. Anyone want to guess what one?
I mean, I know the answer, so I can't guess.
Okay. Do Audie or Amy, do you know what the answer is?
Soap
I'm
operas.
aware of the answer. Is soap
Okay.
operas.
I did have somebody actually say they voted for soap operas because it was the scary option.
Yeah.
I was really looking forward to soap operas, not gonna lie.
Dallas.
We're gonna get there.
Let's
Look,
Yeah,
we're
go.
gonna
it's
get
gonna
We'll
there.
come
get
back.
there.
And we might have to like differentiate between daytime and primetime soaps because daytime
Mhm.
soap operas are a
True.
True.
whole other
Whole other
beast.
thing.
When I pitched that topic, daytime is what came to mind.
Yeah,
All My
yeah,
Children,
that's
Another
true.
Oh,
World.
had it won,
Days
that's
of
what we
Our
were
Life.
doing. But
Sure.
there is
We did it
primetime soap
primetime, but
operas
yeah,
as well.
Yes, you're right.
But our winner was Halloween episodes.
Yeah.
Halloween.
Of course.
Just in
So
time.
any show you want, as long as the episode centers around or focuses on Halloween, and it makes sense. It's spooky season. It's time for that.
Of
So
course.
Yeah.
that is what we're going to be doing. And Audie, you're going to kick us off for that.
Yes. Yes, I am. And doing that, we're actually going to stay in the sitcom realm.
Ooh.
Because that's kind of what I was looking at. And I almost chose an episode of Third Rock from the Sun.
Oh, man.
But it was on Hoopla, and I wasn't sure if it was going to stick around. It was like ending soon. I was like, is this going to work? So I found one other one, and I'm like, we got to do this. So we're going back to one of the best. We're going to watch Night Court.
Oh, man.
Season 7, episode 4. Come back to the Five and Dime. Stephen King.
Oh, snap.
Ooh.
I'm
And it's
ready.
currently on Freevee, so you can watch it there.
Excellent. Night Court. We haven't done that yet, have we?
Mm-mm.
This will be
No.
our
We've
first
talked
episode
about
of
it.
Night Court.
Somehow.
We
We
haven't
have talked
done it.
about it a
We
lot.
talked
and
about it. Yeah,
I was like, time to pull the trigger on this one.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. I can't wait. That'll kick off our Halloween month. It's great. Did we get any feedback on Futurama by chance?
I did not
Let's see.
get any in the email. Let me do one last check in case we had some late contributions. But no,
Late
there's
arriving emails.
nothing in the
All right.
emails for today.
Nothing
I
on the
am
socials that
checking.
I posted and shared.
Nope. No real feedback on it, but I know it was a show that a lot of people did love.
Mhm.
So
Oh yeah, everybody I have
mean,
numerous friends who this was their jam, and they watched every episode. They bought them on DVD, like it was a core thing for us, or for them, with me
so-
in the orbit, going, "Oh, neat! I should watch
Yeah.
that with you someday."
you need to watch. Another good episode is the episode where they go to the Slurm factory.
Okay,
That's a good one. Parasite Lost
Yep.
is a really good one. But you do
That's
just
a good
you
one.
should just if you're
I
just
just
gonna
need to
do
watch
it,
them
then
all.
just
You know,
start
just
at the
binge
beginning.
it.
Start right from the beginning and just go through them.
Yep.
All right. Well, that wraps up this episode of Those Were the Days, talking about Futurama. I can't wait for Night Court next week. That's going to be
Night
fun.
Court. Also, by the way, the episode art for this one is amazing. Thank you, Adi.
It's so good.
Yes. It
absolutely
might be my
wonderful.
new favorite version of us.
It's a pretty good
It's-
version of us.
It's really, really good.
It's in the top. It's in the top 3 at this point.
The nice thing is,
Um,
having done the Simpsons art before, I already had a base.
Right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's real good.
Amy, you got a little project going on. Take a
Yeah,
second and tell
project
people
going
about that.
on. So, my fiction podcast that I do with JF Dubois, Aquilo, we are trying to get season 1 published as a book. We are just past the halfway point of the campaign, and we are just past the halfway point of the number of pre-orders we need to make it happen. So,
Nice.
if you go to aquilo.com/book, you can pre-order your copies. You can see all the pre-order bonuses. The super special exclusive episode should be going out next week for people who have pre-ordered, which is very exciting. And yeah, so please buy our book, aquilo.com/book.
I feel like I need to find a Halloween episode of The Critic
Yeah.
just so I can get the sound bite of Buy My Book and play that.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Definitely, though, check that out. And if you follow me on Instagram or TikTok, I've been doing some fan casting of characters from Aquilo.
Oh, yeah.
I'm curious to see what people think of those and maybe what ideas they have as well. So check that out. Yeah, that'll do it until next week and Night Court as we kick off Halloween episodes from the year 3000. For Amy, for Audie, and for Stephen, I'm Travis saying, good news, everyone. We've done another show.